Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the year where we compile a list. It was just Christmas season. I hope you guys had a very great Christmas. I hope you guys got to spend with your family and friends. I sure did too. It's nice warm outside. It's going to be near 60 today here where I'm at, but today though, it's the start of a 2-day series of lists. It's two big ones I got for you guys. This is the first of which, in case you haven't seen it on the screen. Now, 2019's featured a lot of great music. There's been so many fantastic albums released this year, but however, some bands try to have those expectations to where they wanted a good album, but instead it fell flat or it fell short, however you want to call it, or things just didn't quite match up very well. So today I am here before we get to the best of the year, which will be tomorrow. We have to get to the worst of the worst. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the top 10 worst rock and metal albums of 2019. The worst is here. There are no honorable mentions, so I'm going to get right into the list. Let's go ahead and get started. Number 10 is Motionless in White with the Skies. Now, this album, when I first heard it, it was quite interesting to say the least. Now, doing my research on this album, this was more of an experimentation in industrial metal and stuff. Now, it ain't all that bad. The material ain't all that bad. I kept getting vibes, though, of like, I can't believe I'm even saying this. It's more of a Limp Bizkit, maybe a Breaking Benjamin vibe. It was kind of too much for me at times, and not all the songs are bad in here. Like I said, like Undead 2, Tale of the Midnight Ride's a good song. Thoughts and Prayers is another good song, honestly. But this album ain't entirely all of that, unfortunately. I think the balance is a little off-putting with the soft and heavy. It ain't too bad. There was way worse out there, obviously. Speaking of why it's only at number 10. But I think you gotta give them credit for really trying to do what they did. There's some anger out on this anger let out on this album. There's a lot of emotion. You can't necessarily entirely blame the band. I mean, just the product kind of fell a little short. But let's move on. Number 9 is Sun with Pyroclast. Now, a little introduction on this band. This is a drone metal band formed in 1998. And they released 2 albums this year, Life Metal and then Pyroclast, back on October 25th. They released Pyroclast on October 25th. A similar problem with this album, it seemed like this material didn't resonate with me, except this felt like a serious disappointment to me. Life Metal was such a great album, could end up on top 40 albums of the year tomorrow. Don't want to spoil it, but I just feel like this album didn't have enough momentum being pushed in its favor. I get it, it's drone metal, it's more soundscapes and atmosphere, but this album just kind of didn't do it for me. I don't know what it was. It was 44 minutes of just, I just wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting the point. There is a lot of mixed reviews on this record. Some people really liked it. Some people just said, yeah, it's just a bunch of noise. I would lean towards the middle and kind of say, look, they did try, but at the same time, it just didn't feel like they had enough kinesis moving it forward. Not a whole lot to say about this other than it's more of a disappointment rather than a big, massive failure. We'll get to those. Do not worry. Number 8 is Papa Roach with Who Do You Trust? I don't really trust this album. If we're going to be clear, if I'm going to make one thing clear about this group, they really have tried to keep their relevancy alive, with experimentation over the last couple of albums and stuff. Obviously, same group that did Last Resort and all that back in 2000, mind you. This was an album that kind of dealt with, kind of felt like it was a bit of an anthem at times. I don't know, like trying to experiment with that electronica pop. And it just seemed more or less a discombobulated mess a little bit. It kind of seemed like they were lost in direction a little bit at times. I'm not going to entirely discredit the band for what they were trying to do with this record. I did like some of the vocals, some of the attitude that was behind it. It's not like it's by means a boring album, but at the same time, it's more or less a confusion a little bit. I don't know. This album didn't resonate with me that much either. Kind of similar with Sun, except this time around it was more or less the material presented me. I wasn't sure how to piece it all together. And that electronic and rock, whatever you want to call it, combo just wasn't it for me. I just wasn't quite into it. Didn't really resonate with me. As I said, unfortunately, they're at number 8 on this list. Number 7 is Within Temptations' Resist. Now, I talked about in the album review how this was a combination of symphonic metal and pop. Now, this is a band that's been around for over 20 years. It's 96, and they've done quite a bit in their career. With this album, though, I just felt like this album just fell so flat. The problem is that it just didn't seem like it went anywhere with this combination of symphonic metal and pop. I wasn't quite into it. I'm not a pop guy at all. No way, not even close. This album just, it seemed like they got stuck on an autopilot almost. I wouldn't entirely say autopilot, but it seemed like they just didn't know what to do a little bit at times. Like, it was either one song was fully pop or one song was fully more of the symphonic metal portion of it. There were a couple songs on here that just kind of were cringy to me. Firelight was one of them. I just didn't quite like it. It just sounded way too poppy. It was hard to get through a little bit at times with this record. Not every song is bad, I would say. I give credit to a couple songs on here. They did have some kinesis to it. At times, though, it didn't feel like there was movement to it. But I do gotta give credit to one person, though. It's the vocalist, Sharon Adele. She did a great job on it. I think that was one of the main highlights with this record. But the rest of it, wasn't having it. Number 6 is Hell Yeah with Welcome Home. I didn't even want to put this album on this list, to be honest. I really did. Considering the fact that this is the last album that Vinnie Paul, the drummer, recorded before he died last year in June. Rest in peace, Vinnie Paul, one of the best drummers I can remember in the metal community. But that doesn't say the fact that this album is boring at times. And the first half is actually not bad. There was actually some decent material in the first half. Some drive and attitude behind it. I like the kinesis that was brought with it. It felt like Hell Yeah was taking some steps forward, and then all of a sudden, oh no, we're making a huge U-turn in the second half of the album. That's where things get really bad, actually, with me in this album. It's just the second half just seems to fall so hard on the pavement. Like, it seems like, where did the album go? It's a lot of filler material in the second half. Yeah, there's some nice hookups here and there, but the bottom line is that this album just falls so short of the mark. It seemed like they were heading in the right direction. Black Flag was a good song. The opening track was not bad. Welcome Home was a nice change and swifted the mood. But the rest of it just sounded so, like, it just didn't do much for me at all. There's some people that, it's a mixed album, to say the least, for some folks. And I hope Hell Yeah can crawl out of this hole, because this band has been kind of weaving a little bit in the last couple of albums, and we all know, trust me. But, oh yeah, we still got 5 more albums to go through. The top 5 is coming up. Kicking off at top number 5 is L7 with Sky of the Rats. This is their first album since 1999. 20 years ago, they released their last album before this one, and they took a hiatus. They kind of broke up for a while. They kind of just went their own ways for a while, came back in 2014, decided, hey, let's get a new album coming out. This is an all-female grunge band, and I've listened to some great grunge music in my lifetime. Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Nirvana, you name it, I've probably listened to it. This is not one of those bands. This is an album that's, I'm just going to flat out say it. I mean, there's one word to describe this album: boring. And simple. Simple as ever could be. I don't mind bands being simple, but when your simplicity sucks, it's a problem. It's a huge problem. Especially when this album's like 36 minutes long. No way, dude. Like, seriously. Some of the songs feel cringeworthy, it seems like. It's just like muddied, watered down. Now, grunge, obviously, the production-wise, it's supposed to feel kind of muddied a little bit. That's how it's supposed to be. It's kind of like trudging in general. That's an element of grunge production anyway. But this is just, like, terrible. I just didn't like it at all. I only listened to this album once and never returned to it again. It was hard to get through it anyway. The vocalist, she was even annoying. Danita Sparks, I think her name is. And she just made me like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life listening to this crap? But I don't know. The lyrics were kind of boring. The lyrics were kind of trash too. This whole album just seemed like it was just a trash compactor shooting stuff out. And I couldn't do it. There was no freaking way. This album didn't get the greatest reviews. Doesn't deserve it anyway. Let's move on. Number 4, Wage War with Pressure. People are probably going to be hating on me for this one. But here's the thing. Wage War, the first 2 albums were good. They had some really serious stuff behind it. We get to Pressure, and the whole entire landscape changes. The whole entire landscape changes. Pressure is, it's a metaphor for what the album is. The pressure to make something different. I get that. I get bands want to evolve. That's cool. I like that. Some bands can really do it well. This is not an example of it. As a matter of fact, the balance of the soft and heavy is so jarringly bad at times, it seems like. It felt like the direction was lost numerous times in this album. There are a couple of decent songs on here, but that's all there really is. There's people that really like the direction that they went in. There's people that absolutely hate it. This is definitely one of the more polarizing albums of the year, from what I've seen. And then the song Grave. Oh, God, don't even get me started. You take me to you. It's one of the corniest choruses I've heard all year long. And, man, I'm sorry, but this album has a jarring offset of dynamisty. It's not even good. It's actually bad. It was hard to even get through the first listen because I felt like shutting it off towards the end of the album at one point. I'm just like, I can't do this. But I really hope Wage War kind of learns from this experimentation, that they can move forward and potentially come up with a much better album. Kind of like what happened with Whitechapel, with Mark at the Blade, how they were able to come out with an album like The Valley. You know, that was really awesome in its own right. But, oh yeah, we still got 3 more albums to go. How about can things really get? Number 3 is Thy Art Is Murder with Human Target. Some of the most basic deathcore 101. What is happening here? I don't generally listen to deathcore. This isn't my style of music, but my God. Oh my Lord. Where do I even start? The riffing sounds it's like it almost all sounds the same each song. Yeah, there's some little variety with the riffing and pickups here and there. And then you have C.J. McMahon, the vocalist, with some really cringy lyrics, especially in the song Make America Hate Again. What is happening? That song is ridiculously stupid in its own right. This album just seemed like it went nowhere. The riffs are just basic. It's trash. It's garbage. Don't pick it up at all. It's just, not unless you really love the headbang, like the same old riff almost over and over again. Now, I'm not trying to say that the tone and pitch is the same, but it just seems like I've heard it all before in every single other deathcore, death metal band, whatever you want to call it. And this album serves as an example of how bad things can really get. It's not even that good. I just didn't even feel the movement at all. Definitely something I wouldn't return to again. It wasn't attention pleasing. It was actually attention defacing, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, this was just so bad. I don't understand how this even passed through. Honestly, these ideas passed through. It's not even. I don't even know what to say anymore. But this album, it's getting me lost. I can't even think anymore. But wait. We still have Silver and Gold, ladies and gentlemen. Number 2, it's our old friends, Puddle of Mud, with Welcome to Galvania, and now The Storm Has Brewed, definitely. What is going on here? This is an album that the first time I heard it, it wasn't that bad, okay? I'll be honest. You Don't Know is a decent opening. It gets worse from there for me. Sounds like the rant of a 16-year-old who's problems with his girlfriend. And it's just like, yeah, I discovered social media. I'm going to talk all this trash. What is happening? And then there's a couple of decent songs like, and then the rest of the album just sounds like typical grunge rock. It just sounds boring. It sounds not pleasing at all. If people like this album, they must be one-dimensional. I don't know. You have to be one-dimensional to like this record, honestly. I would say that right now. There's no 3D image of how good this album is. It's a 3D image of how much I want to toss it in the garbage. It's not... See, just because you clean up your act doesn't mean the music's good. Oh my Lord. What Scantlin just doesn't... He kind of sounds annoying at times in this album. That's one of the big problems, in my opinion. His vocals are just, oh my God, it's turning into like listening to, I don't know, I can't even think of the band's name right now, but the vocals are annoying. The same old song idea is cycled in the second half of the album almost. It's boring. You don't even want to return to it. It's something that, it's like you have a high school reunion and you didn't like the high school, you don't want to go back to it. It's how bad this album is. I don't understand. I've tried to revisit it a couple times. And I've figured out that this is an album that deserved to be number 2 for those reasons I just specified. But there's one album, and I swear to God, this one album that's you're about to see is really, really just, I don't understand how this album even passed through. This has got to be one of the worst albums I've heard in my entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, the worst rock and metal album of the year in 2019, number 1, is Steel Panther with Heavy Metal Rules. You can already tell by looking at the album cover that things are about to get really interesting. This album has got to be one of the childest, corniest, the stupidest ideas I've heard in my entire life. Who thought to make this record? Whose idea was it to make this record? Please tell me. Somebody please tell me. Was it Satchel? Was it somebody else? Oh my God. Listening to this album made my life span shorten a lot, it feels like. I feel like I wasted my time. This is an album that has homophobic references, sexual references all across the board. Well, I'll just start there. The lyrics. My God. I don't care if this was meant to be taken seriously, if this was crafted with a serious goal in mind. This was not the goal to have in mind. Trust me, I can tell you that. I can get behind some of the riffs that are going on in this, but it's almost like Steel Panther meets Lulu in a rough way. Oh my Lord. This album is so cringy. It's so bad. These lyrics are terrible. Like terrible, so bad. It's weird. It's so weird to listen to this. I'm looking at these lyrics, and I'm sitting next to my friend while I was in school a month ago when I heard this album before I graduated college. And I'm like showing him these lyrics. I'm just like, dude, what is happening? What am I like? It sounds like okay, I'm not even trying to say this word, but here, I'm just going to try to flat say it. It feels like things were turning gay for a minute there with this record. For those who somehow like it, I don't know how you like this record if you do. You might need to seek professional help. I don't know. I mean, that was obvious. I wasn't being serious, but here's the thing. You know, I don't even know what to say anymore. If this album's that bad, I lost my train of thought. Anyways, this album sucks. Bottom line, this should have never happened. This should be disposed of in a fire immediately. As a matter of fact, could somebody do me a favor? Have all of you seen Men in Black 4? Comment below too on that. Because I would like to have one of those memory cleanse things. To forget I even listened to this record. I need it flashed in my face 12 times. For each song I listen to 12 times. The 12 songs that are on this album, I believe, it's 12 tracks. And please, just make me just forget I even listened to this. Especially with the 9 other albums on this list. But that does it. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe if you're new. More content is coming on this channel. You can bet that, believe that. You know, this has been the top 10 worst rock and metal albums of 2019. If you think I missed an album, or if an album was treated unfairly in your opinion, please let me know in the comments below. I'd like to know. I'd like to know your guys' opinions. Talking about music's great. Let's start a conversation on it. Please, please do it. Do not feel afraid to. Tomorrow is the big list of top 40 rock and metal albums of 2019. Please, please stay tuned for that. I cannot wait to do that video for all of you. It will be fun. Let's get to tomorrow. Let's get to such a great list for tomorrow. But until then, I'm signing off. Have a great rest of your day.